It's time for Macbreak Weekly. Andy, Renee, Alex, all here. It's one of those slow days just before the Worldwide Developers Conference. We'll talk about some rumors about what Apple might be announcing June 6th at WWDC. Also, some changes in Apple management, an ode to Tim Cook, and a farewell to one of the greats in the Mac community. It's all coming up next on Macbreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Macbreak Weekly, episode 819, recorded Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Become one with the upset. Macbreak Weekly is brought to you by IT Pro TV. Give your team an engaging IT development platform to level up their skills. Volume discounts start at 5 seats. Go to itpro.tv/MacBreak and be sure to mention Macbreak 30 to your IT Pro TV account executive to get 30% off or more on a business plan. And by 8 Sleep. Go to 8sleep.com/MacBreak for exclusive Memorial Day savings through June 6th. Cool down this summer with 8 Sleep, now shipping within the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. And if you're listening after June 6th, use the same URL to check out the Pod Pro cover and save $150 at checkout. And by Collide. Get endpoint management that puts the user first. Visit Collide, KOLIDE.com/MacBreak to learn more and activate a free 14-day trial today. No credit card required. It's time for Macbreak Weekly. This is the show where we cover the non-news from Apple all this month. Actually, for a couple more weeks anyway. That's Andy Iannacco chortling away in the background. He will not be at a loss for words during today's program. Hello, Andrew.
No, not with that report about rumors backstage about the development of Apple's AR goggles. Oh boy, I've got a great feeling about that product.
Well, we're good. We're going to talk about it. That's good.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Renee Ritchie, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. Hello, Renee.
I'm wearing them right now, Leo. You can't tell because they have a screen on the outside mirroring my face. I'm wearing them right now. Also, there's Dub. To be fair, they just put out a Dub press release, so we have a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'll go run and get that while we say hello to Alex Lindsay, officehours.global.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Talk a little longer because I'm going to the Apple newsroom right now.
Apple.com/newsroom.
Okay,
so we'll in fact be a keynote.
Read the full story. Here we go.
Between Top Gun and the Bob's Burgers movie, who is suddenly okay with being back in a movie theater again? I'm so on the fence. I'm trying to be good and say no. I shouldn't be back in the theater.
We rented one, which was surprisingly affordable if you have enough people.
I refuse to be held hostage by Tom Cruise. I'm going to watch it streaming. I don't care what he says. So there.
I would like to be rescued from hostage because I believe he's the one actor who could actually pull that off.
Yeah.
Everything, Everywhere, All the Time, Always. I forget the exact title of that movie, but everyone I know tells me I have to go see that immediately.
Yeah, we also decided not to go to a theater to see that. It closed Petaluma last week, and we'll be watching that on streaming, too. I have a perfectly good home theater. I have no desire to go to a movie theater. Sorry,
Do you have Alex
Tom.
Lindsay sitting on top of your projector adjusting it for you in real time?
Yes, exactly. Actually,
perfect.
I did have a team of like 4 people come in and adjust the projector because it's very finicky. It's a short throw projector, and it's a special screen. It all has to be just so. And that was a couple of years ago, and now it's just all whopper-jawed. But I just pretend I don't
like a new car, you clean it for the week.
It's all keystone and messed up. And
but honestly, once you get that smoothing turned on, oh my God, the experience! I'm never going back to. I just want to see someone's head exploding.
Boom! Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference kicks off June 6th with keynote address. Well, there's the first revelation.
We're stunned.
It will be a keynote.
It's
Good morning.
They're going to have an event on the same day and the same time that they have it every year.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's 10 a.m. Pacific. It'll stream on apple.com, and of course, we'll do our thing here as usual. That's a Monday. That is a little bit of a change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not for Dub.
Not
Dub's
recently.
Monday. It's the rest that are all Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Platform State of the Union follows immediately after at 1 p.m. Pacific. The Design Awards
That's
that
all the good
night.
stuff, Leo.
This is always the
Platform
same.
State of the Union is like the second keynote, but it's all the good stuff. It's all the developer framework.
Technical stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's Craig Federighi's vice president. So it's like Stefan and Sebastian, and they come out and they tell you about all the like how the stuff actually works that they just went through quickly during the main keynote.
Well, I do have a Air Force One's accidental leak last year on the whiteboard at Apple of top secret features.
You think it's a double bluff?
For WWDC 22. Haircut reminder, use front-facing camera. Personal hologram video call stand-in. I wonder if they're intentionally burying some actual like tidbits in here. Dog AirPods. Do we call them AirBuds? Does Siri speak dog? Autonomous phone retrieval. Find me. Personal stylist feature. Scroll to recharge. That's my favorite. And then Mac OS brainstorming. Mac OS Zeppelin. Mac OS Big Fish. Big Fun. I can't read it. His hands in front. Upgrades to health. It's getting hard to read here. Obviously, this is a joke. Yeah?
Well, the thing is, remember for years and years and years, Steve Jobs during his keynotes was like secretly dog fooding keynote.
Right.
Like it wasn't announced. Maybe they're developing a whiteboard or something. And
they're dog fooding the dog buds.
The live, yeah. I wouldn't put it past them. They're clever.
One rumor we did hear is that Apple is going to put a screen on the front of the A. So, first of all, credible that they would say something next week about the AR goggles. Is that reasonable?
I'm voting
AR
no.
kit.
I don't know.
The AR kit. Yeah. I would be surprised.
No
by
hardware.
Right.
Even though Mark Gurman says they showed them to the board of directors last week.
But they had iPhones for like a year before the announcement. Even Eric Schmidt got an iPhone way before they were publicly announced.
Okay. Boy, you're really raining on my parade today.
I'm sorry, Leo. I apologize.
Will they have a screen on the front?
The Apple car will be on stage.
The rumor was that there will be 14 was it 14 screens?
14 cameras. Facing out and facing in.
Yeah.
So partly so that there was a conversation, a very rational conversation happening amongst all designers of this hardware saying, yeah, but one of the big stumbling blocks is that like when you're wearing them like outside or in a group of people, like you're wearing these blindfolds and no one can interact with you. And rather than according to the story, rather than them saying, yeah, you're right, I guess this is kind of a dumb idea and we need to sort of navigate around that, they said, no problem. We'll have outward-facing LCD screens with video images of your eyes, so you can still have that eye contact.
Not the least bit creepy.
I don't.
Can you imagine if there was like significant latency with the blinking? Like just you're all off.
Did they say they were putting LCDs on the front?
No, there's a story. There's a story in a newsletter called Puck that I wasn't familiar with that had a long history of the development of AR glasses. 9 to 5 Mac and a whole bunch of a couple others like
Alex
summarized it and also
expanded
upon it. Yeah. And so it basically the storyline is that it's been a very active for 5 or 6 years. There have been fights between the advanced technology group, like the research people, and the design people, with Johnny Ive at that point being the head of user interface and basically anything that's supposed to be pretty, making all the final decisions. And as a result, again, it's bad to make any judgment about something that Apple hasn't announced based on a news story that you don't know exactly where it's coming from. But there's nothing revelatory about it that would get one excited about what's happening in this space.
The reason I asked is that I did read the article, and I thought that when they were talking about inward, I know that the reason that you want inward cameras is not so much to put your eyes on the front, which would be super weird. It is to get all the expressions from your eyes, because they want to put them into emojis or to I don't know about Apple wants where Apple wants to put them, but other people want to track your eye pocket.
If you ever want to be Gollum in Lord of the Rings, it'd be very handy as well.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is there was also a rumor about e-ink displays on the outside of a folding Apple phone. So maybe they're the same rumor, and there'll be an e-ink display on the outside of the VR headset that'll update your facial expressions excruciatingly slowly.
So mostly you can get like your eyes looking like death from the Death of the Endless in the Sandman.
It was reported previously, though, like Alex Heath Alex Heath, when he was reporting on it, I forget, he moves around so much. He might have been a Business Insider, he might have been at Verge, might have been at CNBC. He gets around that there were external displays and nobody could figure out what they were for. And some people thought they would show you charging status while the headset was off, or show you notifications while the headset was off. But you can just see a meeting somewhere with some people going, no, they're not human enough. You've got to be able to see what the world is outside you, and the world's got to see what's inside you. So all we'll do is make a virtual glass between the two, and then it'll be perfect. Yeah. They'll see your eyes and you'll see their face
It is kind of weird, in the new in the quests, they have outward, and you feel like you're in the Lord of the Rings. It's like when you put the ring on, it's like everything's kind of like washy and black and white, and you can see out into it,
Wraith World.
but it's still it's very Wraith World like. So it's but I think that the thing that is important to, as we read all of these things, is that I've worked in and out of the development of a lot of these headsets, not Apple's. I don't have any idea what they're doing, but this is really hard. Like, it is, like, what they're trying to do and what everyone's trying to do is taken billions and billions of dollars of development, and most people have had some version of a dead end. And it's really, really hard to do. And I think that most people know that at some point it's going to be pretty interesting. It depends on I think that Apple's probably going to lean more towards the Google side of things than the Facebook side. The Facebook side is kind of like, we want to put you in this and have you stay there forever. The Google side is more of like, this is a momentary experience. That you're going to put it on and experience something and then take it off and go back to what you're doing. And I think that Apple, my guess is that it's going to probably go more in you're going to put it on as an add-on to other experiences, as opposed to it's where you're going to dwell, which is, I think Facebook is going more towards the dwell.
It's hard to say. We're only going from rumors, but mostly the designs we've been seeing so far point to fully immersive VR, or it may be something that is kind of like what the Oculus does, where much better 4K cameras are giving you live video of what you would be seeing if you did not have this thing in front of your face. The question for me is that there are companies that it is hot development. Qualcomm has samples of what they're working on. Many other companies have production samples of what they want to aim for, and they're all aiming for enterprise, government, military, healthcare, factories. It's a great solution that companies are actually buying for things like doing a checkout of an airplane before flight, where there's an immense list. There's a big book of checklists of maintenance things that have to be done, and the ability to simply have, even if it costs $3,000 to have this thing on the worker's face, if that allows them to process this checklist much faster and get that paperwork processed much faster because it's being checked off as they're doing it, that's worth the money. The worry that I have is that if Apple is aiming that towards a real consumer experience, they will be something that goes beyond gaming. They will be trying something that's unprecedented. Apple's good at that, but let's just acknowledge that, as you say, Alex, it's very, very difficult, and they'd be doing something that's unprecedented.
And I think that it's going to also be high-end consumer. I think that if this headset, if it exists, comes out at less than $3,000, I'll be pretty amazed. I think it's going to be $3,000 to $5,000.
That's the rumor.
In fact,
$3,000 to $5,000
for this developer edition.
Right. They're going to call it the developer edition, and then they're going to sell. There
was apparently a big argument about the battery life too, where some people were saying they wanted to have changeable batteries, user-changeable batteries, so people could wear it for 8 hours. And other people saying, we're not Facebook. We don't want to create an alternate world for people. Right. We don't want them to live in this. We want them to use it like an Apple TV, put on something fun, and then get out. So if the battery has to be recharged after 2 hours or 3 hours, that's fine. That's actually probably better for their health. And it sounds like that's the group that's winning right now.
Yeah, as well as the idea of, do we have all the processing and all the battery on board, or do we have it communicating with a companion device or a phone to share some of the processing power? And that's another idea where it seems as though, no, we want this to be an entirely self-contained device that doesn't, like an Apple Watch, that doesn't necessarily require an external device to function at all, which is another thing that's, again, it's interesting. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but when you have a device that can only be used for an hour and a half or 2 hours at a time, you are absolutely doing that because you have an idea of how you're going to be explaining this to potential customers, and those customers, the use case is being, no, that's perfectly fine. We're going to have a cart where people, when they go onto the flight deck, they grab a pair of goggles off the charging cart, and then after they do their hours worth of work, they come back off the flight line and they drop those goggles right back in the cart, for instance.
Well, remember they had like WWDC 2017, and they had this whole announcement with Valve, and Valve was gearing up to do all this VR stuff with Apple, and then Johnny apparently walks in and says, no, we're not going to have an external box. We're not going to have anything where you have to wear goggles and they connect, and that was canceled, and then Valve went away, and then all that stuff just died, and they had to reboot basically.
And don't forget the Army HoloLens deal, which has gone belly up, by the way. $22 billion, and already they're saying no soldier in the field's ever going to want to risk his life with this thing. By the way, this is the Facebook prototype from a couple of years ago.
Sorry.
Yep.
Not at all creepy. This is your eyes being seen on a screen in front. Facebook apparently has been working on this for a while, so maybe that's where the rumor comes, or maybe Apple stealing a page from Facebook. Go ahead, Renee.
They're going to try everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I'm sure they have ones with googly eyes on them, and let's see if this works. So.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I still think that the one of the advantages that Apple, I think we're going to see take advantage of, is the fact that they have a larger ecosystem. So a lot of the ARKit stuff that's been built, I still think that the Office tools will get USDZ 6 months to a year before the headset comes out, because the demand for building 3D models will go up dramatically, to USDZ. So if you release Keynote, for instance, with USDZ, suddenly there's going to be thousands and thousands of objects built for Keynote, because it's, and they'll be sold at, $10 for 25 or whatever. But that's going to generate this huge amount of content that's much easier to manage and then put into the goggles. This is something that's the kind of platform experience that would be very difficult for competitors to build. And it also probably means USDZ becomes
that no one has any idea until we get 1 million of them out there and people are using them, what people are going to want. They may, in fact, not want 3D models floating in space. They may want plain text. It's unknown until you get a lot of people using it.
Well, that's why enterprise is such a great fit for these goggles. Again, if your job is to deal with clients on you gave us $1 million to determine the feasibility of building this widget for you, so that you can install them in existing engines and get another 10 years of service life off of something. That's worth $3,000 a unit to have 10 of them, so that when you bring the client in, you can really show them what you're going for. I think any company that tries to say, here's $3,000 and now you can have a Triceratops on your desk, it's like, okay, but how does that make me money or justify a $3,000 toy?
Well, like in Amazon, if you get to the right object, it's not happening everywhere, but on Amazon, I was looking for a new TV stand underneath my TV, and it popped up and said, would you like to see it in your room? And I hit it, and there it is. And I decided I didn't want that one. But the thing is that that was really valuable to me as a user, because I was able to see that this was a little too wide and a little too high, and only made possible because the LiDAR is super accurate, and it was able to place it exactly into where it needed to be. And I could see the lighting, the color, everything, size. And that's where I think we're going to see, again, it's not a matter of having a Triceratops, although for education that might be useful, but the ability to see things, previs things that you possibly want to use is, I think, going to be a big part of what a lot of retailers want to do. My barely educated guess is that first it's going to be an only Apple product, because that's what they do. They have limited resources, even though they're a $1 trillion company, and they make big bets, and they're going to want to do something that shows off things that only Apple can do, which is usually integration with like an M3 class processor and a special graphics unit just for this machine. But then also they'll follow the Apple TV model. And my very uneducated guess is that whatever we do on the Apple TV today, from Fitness Plus to watching movies, all the Share Play stuff now too, which is collaborative, you'll be able to sit with your Memoji next to Andy and Alex and Leo's Memoji and watch that movie without having to go to the IMAX. And they'll have all of those features. And yes, they'll sign big deals with like Boeing or like American Airlines or something, and have those the same way they do that with the iPad and the iPhone today. But their end goal is going to be a mainstream consumer product, not at $3,000, but at like $1,000. They'd rather a single person pay $1,000 for an Apple VR headset than a family pay $200 for an Apple TV box. That's a huge upgrade for them. So my guess is that's the way they're driving.
Might also be why Apple Apple, and this is the Puck story you were talking about, Andy. Puck.news is a new, really good, by the way, publication. I subscribed to it when Baratunde went over there, but a lot of good people. Dylan Byers, who is very well connected, is the one who suggested that EA has been in play and that Disney, Apple, and Amazon all are bidding. And at first I thought, why would Apple want a game company like EA? I mean, you know, that's EA Sports. It's not, it wouldn't be for arcade. But on the other hand, maybe there'd be some skills and even some technology that would make sense in an AR world.
And in-app purchases.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Robo Recall is probably still the best game that was built for the Oculus. And and it's the kind of thing that, you know, the kind of thing that EA knows how to do really well. It's more than just putting 3D objects in there. It is understanding game design and process, and that's going to be
they need that
trivial.
expertise, and they probably don't have that expertise. I would imagine.
Well, and that's why Microsoft, you know, of course, is
they
purchased game companies.
Exactly, they bought Activision.
There's not many left.
Microsoft is different because they own a legit game platform, one of the most popular game platforms. When I was reading that idea of lots of people putting in bids for EA, including Apple, that really got me. I have a limited imagination to figure out what Apple would do with EA, because it's way too valuable as a content creation studio to basically say, hey, we've got all this talent for creating 3D experiences. Let's build them. Let's bring them into Apple. On the other hand, wow, it would be like instead of buying movies at festivals, really trying to have your own MGM and saying, is Apple going to be is Apple going to be willing with their management structure to say, yes, we will invest $40, $50, $60 million over 3, 4, 5 years on an unproven game concept, but with a very, very good team behind it, with the hopes that it will help sell Apple services and Apple hardware.
It reminds me a little bit of
lack of imagination.
It reminds me a little bit of the Beats acquisition. When the Beats acquisition happened, it was like, what the hell are they thinking? Do they want headphones? Maybe they want streaming music. Mm-hmm. We learned from Trip Mickle's book that, in fact, they already had a streaming music project going on inside Apple, and there was a bit of a competition between the Beats folks and the Apple folks. The Beats deal was even weirder than this EA deal. At least with the EA deal,
did you notice an Easter egg there? Like, because they named that product Fuse, and then if you go back, that was the name of Tony Fadell's company when they hired him to come in and make the iPod.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was just a little bit of a, this is the future of music, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. EA owns FIFA. It owns Madden. Two very, very hot things. Need for Speed, sort of. Battlefield, which is, sort of big. I think it would be one of those things where, much like the Beats acquisition, where there's some additional profit from the headphone business or the game business, but really the technology underlying it and the team.
There's not that many. I mean, Apple makes in a lot of the stuff that's come out, we're clear that Apple makes a huge amount of money on games. So it's it may not have an Xbox, but the iPhone is still
If there's a critique of Macintosh, it's that it's not a gaming platform.
Well, but the iPhone is, and so
But I'm saying, if you bought EA, you could insist that all of these. And by the way, the sports games are very family friendly. They're not shooters. So you could insist that Madden comes out on a Macintosh.
But can you just imagine, like, they flip the button on iPad apps and say you can run on the Mac? Because that's all that they're refusing. Everyone is refusing to do that. But if they flip that button that says this iPad app could run on the Mac, there'd be a huge amount of games available instantly.
Yeah, but they're not AAA.
Really big publishers.
Yeah, but they're not AAA.
Some of them are really Genshin Impact. I mean, there are some really good titles on the iPad.
But I think that even moving a bunch of the EA stuff to there, also there's just not that many game companies. If you decide games are important, it's very expensive to build your own studio.
That's right.
And there's not that many. There's EA, there's 2K.
They're going fast.
There's not going to be. There's like 4 or 5 left that are of any close size to EA. So
and
once those go
else
away,
is bidding
rebuilding
for
them is really hard.
Disney and Amazon, right? So it's
such a secure fit for Disney. The idea of saying that now they have coordination amongst every single platform that they own, and the ability to simply not contract out a game to an outside company, but to simply say, no, we have our own game studio. You will get access. We will be developing this game and content for that game so that it synchronizes with things we're doing in the comics, things we're doing on TV, things we're doing in movies. I can't imagine Apple outbidding Disney if they have their sights on their own studio.
Byers says that EA's market cap around 36 billion.
That's a chump change.
Yeah, well, it is. It's less than it's a third of what Microsoft paid for Activision Blizzard. So in a way, it's a deal.
Well, and the thing is that just what Andy had just talked about with Disney would definitely work. I mean, if you think about there's a lot of the titles that Apple's built that could be turned into a game that could have AR and VR potential. It could have a lot of those other bits and pieces because the game company is going to bring also a lot of understanding of 3D pipelines and so on and so forth that are going to be useful for AR as well.
And here's another one. What about the car? Don't you want entertainment in the car?
Well, I don't know. I think that playing some kind of racing game in the car might be dangerous. That's all I'm saying. No, you're like trying to keep up with
you think an Apple car is going to have a steering wheel? No. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Also, I'm starting to wonder if Apple is as good at integration as we've often given them credit for, or as maybe they used to be. That if they could actually pull that off, where they have a division that will get access to something as secret as the car division, as other experimental and research sort of things that they're looking at, as opposed to those really thick and institutional walls that they keep between every single product that they don't want anybody else to know about. So I don't know.
Wouldn't it be interesting if you bought an autonomous vehicle you could not drive, and inside it you had a steering wheel and pedals to play Need for Speed?
Wouldn't it be cool to have one of those full motion? You could have a box, and in the back, it's a full motion system. You put it all in there, and you're like going around it.
No. See, this is an opportunity because you know that that there's a federal mandate now to have to certify a technology to make sure that a car cannot be operated by someone who is impaired or drunk. So what if we just have until you get to like level 8 of Tetris, you cannot start this car.
There you go.
Elon's put games in his car. My Ford Mustang has some actually decent games in it. I honestly think if you're in the Apple car division, we know this. We've talked about it before. You're thinking about, well, what are people going to be doing inside these living rooms on wheels? Yeah. Let's take a little break. We got lots more to... No, we don't. We got nothing more to
Full self-gaming, Leo. Think about it. Full self-gaming in the car.
You know what? I'd prefer to drive a car and let the car play the game. How about that? What do we think? Yes?
How about a nice game of chess?
Yes.
Do you really want to try to play a game with your 2 kids in the back seat? They would smoke you.
Oh, I know.
At least now you have the excuse of I would whip your ass in that game, but unfortunately Daddy's driving right now.
Daddy's playing Simpsons Tapped Out up front.
Falcon Punch? No.
Yeah. Our show today brought to you by IT Pro TV. We talk all the time about what a great place IT Pro TV is for anybody looking to get into the IT world. But what if you're already in the IT world? What if you've already got a job? Well, you also have to polish your skills, acquire new skills, recertify. Now, as long as we're doing a thought experiment, what if you have an IT team? What if your business has a team of IT professionals? Don't you want them to be doing the same thing, getting new skills, reaccrediting, recertifying? Well, give them IT Pro TV. They have a team platform you will love. More importantly, your employees will use. And that's really kind of half the game. More than 80% of users who start a video at IT Pro TV finish it because it's fun, it's engaging. They've got the best edutainers, they call them, experts in the field, but who are also really, really good at keeping you engaged. I think it's their passion, frankly, for what they're teaching. This will give your team the tools they need to make your business thrive. Binge-worthy courses in every aspect of IT. And of course, because IT is constantly changing, so is IT Pro TV. They have in their beautiful, and we went out and visited it when they launched at Gainesville Studio. They have 7 studios creating brand new content. Why? Well, the search changed, the questions changed, the software updates, the systems upgrade. There are new cyber threats, and IT Pro TV is always up to date. Training goes from those studios into their library within 24 hours. There are 5,800 hours of on-demand courses in every aspect of IT, every vendor, every skill, all in one place. Microsoft, Cisco, Linux, Apple, security, cloud, soft skills too, from compliance and marketing, you just can't beat IT Pro TV. You'll love the interface because they've got a way for you to track your team's results, to manage your seats, to assign and unassigned team members. You'll get monthly usage reports, metrics like logins, viewing time, tracks completed, so you know exactly how your team is doing. You can completely customize their assignments, keep an eye on any individual or any group. Assignments can be, of course, the full courses, but, you know, all the courses are divided up in 20 and 30-minute segments, so you can assign just a segment if you want. Just, you know, brush up on this skill. You'll get a lot of advanced reporting, too, in this dashboard, so you have insight into what's going on with your team and knowing that you're getting the ROI for IT Pro TV. For individuals getting into the IT business, staying in the IT business, for teams, IT Pro TV is the development platform you need to level up your skills while enjoying the journey. For teams of 2 to 1,000, but volume discounts start at 5 seats. In fact, 30% discount when you say Macbreak 30 to your IT Pro account executive. There's the team. These are such great people. I love everybody over there. itpro.tv/Macbreak. Whisper Macbreak 30 to your account executive for 30% off or more on a business plan. Business or individual, Macbreak 30 at itpro.tv/Macbreak. We thank them so much for supporting Macbreak. They've been big, you know, supporters since they started. We've been big supporters of theirs, so it's fair. Losing Ian Goodfellow to DeepMind is the dumbest thing Apple's ever done. I don't know if that's pretty high bar. Tristan Green writing in the Next Web, he likens losing Ian Goodfellow to letting Tom Brady or Michael Jordan leave your team over a disagreement over how the towels should be folded. Goodfellow left
to read his article, right?
Yeah, Goodfellow left. Yeah, that was a good, right? That got me to read it. Yeah,
yeah.
Goodfellow,
you got us. Yep.
You got us. He got us. But he makes a good point. Goodfellow, who is a machine learning expert and one of the developers of a technique called GAN, generative something.
Adversarial
neural network. Hard to say, but a very powerful tool. So he's really one of the leading lights.
Can I add something quickly there, Leo? I love GAN so much. Like you think about it, like you have a Batman neural network, and its job is to defend something like Face ID, for example. So Batman's there to make sure no one bad gets into your Face ID. Like Andy can't break into my Face ID. And then you have a Joker neural network, and its whole job is to defeat the Batman network, to break in. And they go back and forth, and the programmers have no idea what they're doing anymore. It's not like code; it's like training pets. And they go back and forth with this titanic war in virtual reality. Well, not even virtual. Like
they make
bits,
each other
and they
better.
Keep making better versions.
Yeah.
The ones that are bad get destroyed, and the ones that are good
we know
propagate,
competition
and
works.
They grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it's amazing.
He actually was at Google, left Google a few years ago to go to Apple, but now partly, I don't know if it's completely. He did write a note that said, you know, I don't want to go back to work. I like the work from home thing, but I think there may be other reasons. But the point of this article, besides the clickbaity headline, is that there isn't, you know, these people are unique. They're not interchangeable. There are a handful of really great people.
Did they include his clarification in there? Because he did post a brief statement afterwards.
It wasn't just about work from home, right?
Yeah, that was on the list of his grievances.
Right. Well, but people like that I mean, he's moved around before.
Yep.
You know, you're so valuable that, you know, it is like Tom Brady. You know, other teams are bidding big time for your attentions. So it's a way to, you know, get more money, get better work and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is going to be a challenge for any company trying to bring workers back, is that the most valuable ones are the ones that have the most leverage. You know, and they're, you know, they have a unique talent. They know it, and other people know it, and they get to choose where they want how they want this to look. And I think companies that try to press down are going to lose a lot of talent.
I think it's happened already.
Really,
it's happening already.
They've been working from Tahoe for 2 years and not going to come back to Cupertino or Mountain View or wherever.
And in fact, if this may well be the story of the last few years of Silicon Valley, is the rise in power of engineers. You know, who are now starting to dictate their own terms because there's so few and far between and so valuable.
Yeah, the supply of engineers is so low compared to the demand.
Right.
And the problem is that and this is why we're seeing grow with Google, and we're seeing playgrounds and everything else, is all an attempt to make that pipeline fatter, and get people in earlier and faster, because colleges are not pumping out students that they need. They're not pumping out the quality or the quantity that is necessary for the industry. And so,
even if they were
past them,
cranking them out as fast as they possibly could, this is part of the reason there's a supply shortage. Demand is exploding.
Well, it is, but I think that this is going to have a massive impact on education, because essentially these companies, because they're so hungry for this gets into, they're going to bypass all the computer science colleges. They'll still have their little degrees, but there's going to be a huge number. You're not going to come out of high school feeling like you need to go to college. There's going to be programs.
They don't want the delay.
Right. They just want they want to get you in. It's like baseball. Baseball. You come out of high school and you're in.
But
the
let me point
program.
out, football does not have that same model. They want you to go to college. There is stuff to be learned in college. The basics. I mean, there are.
Well, you're not big enough in football. Like that's why they do that. Is that you're not strong
big
enough.
Yeah,
you'll get hurt.
All right, enough of the sports analogies. I still think there's a valuable. Your brain isn't big enough. You need to getting out of high school. You're not ready to write GAN. Invent GAN. I think you still.
The other pressure, for the really talented ones, is that Apple and Google and Facebook have shown that they will buy your startup in a blink. And for a lot of them, getting in and getting a salary with limited upward mobility is nowhere nearly as profitable or enjoyable as making a startup. They literally make startups, sell them to Google, leave, make another startup, sell them to Google or Apple.
I know someone,
leave, and they do it like 3-4 times.
I know someone who sold they've sold 3 companies to Google by being absorbed. They wait 2 years, they leave, they go start another one. They come back.
So you'd be nuts to go to Google out of high school,
what's his
or
name
even
sold
out of
Lala
college.
and then Color.
Better to go to a
He sold
startup.
2 companies in a row,
especially with moribund stock prices, and all of the big tech company stock prices are now.
The issue is it's a lot easier to get funding for your little startup after you worked at Google, or Apple. Like that. Having that on your LinkedIn makes it a lot easier to go out and get something.
I don't know what the optimal path is, but I'm sure that if you're smart and adept in computer science and you're a college sophomore right now, there's a lot of conversation about what are the steps now I need to do. Okay, I need
to get your internship. You do a year or 2, then you spin off into a startup.
Do I need an E degree? Do I need a CS degree? Where should I get the internship? Where should my first job be? What should my startup be? I'm sure there's a path. There's probably books
Silicon
about
Valley on HBO figured they gave you a roadmap. All you got to do is follow that and the whiteboard.
Well, and again, the path that Apple's taking, to be clear, is 10 years old. I mean, that's why Playgrounds is so they want you playing with that stuff early on and doing those kinds of things, so that that's when when you think about.
I think the value of that is de minimis, though, because I think there's plenty of, there's kids doing it regardless, right? There's kids learning Python in 8th grade, too.
They're just trying to make it easy, though. They're just, the goal is to make it
easy.
To make it as easy as possible.
It's pretty easy.
Well, the goal is for schools and curriculums to scale it.
Yeah. To
have a curriculum for a school.
Schools are failing kids right now, so, kids are doing it on their own. I think, but that's always been that way, right? The best programmers, I don't know, we should interview Ian Goodfellow, but I bet you, he taught himself, right, in the early days.
Yeah, I think that there's a real power to getting over the hump. Like I got over the hump by someone from Unisys was teaching in the downstairs of the church that I went to when I was a kid, and I learned basic, and then I taught myself the rest of it. But I got over the hump of understanding how it worked. And then I was off to the races.
Bill Gates' mom had a bake sale to raise money so they could buy a terminal for a timeshare that they put in his school. And that's how he got into it, right?
Right.
So I think it's always been that way. Google is apparently, I don't know why, because if you had the choice of working for Apple or Google, I would work for Apple. But because Google is not being so adamant on this return to work policy, it's not just Ian Goodfellow, apparently, according to protocol. Google is becoming a hub for people leaving Apple.
Apple just delayed again, so you wonder that. Yes, part of it is just being an abundance of caution, but part of it's also okay, pause. Pause.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that are connected that are on LinkedIn that suddenly they were all leaving Apple, and then suddenly the pause happened. I was like, somebody said we got to figure this out before we keep pushing.
It's really interesting. It's a complicated calculus because of course, sure, you want the best work environment. But also, don't you want the best projects, most interesting projects to work on? Don't you want the best compensation? There's a lot of factors. It was very interesting in the Trip Mickle book. I think the number one thing I found interesting was the Apple car project was not from Tim Cook or the executives. It was from the engineers who were ready to leave Apple because Tesla was doing more interesting stuff. And they said, if you want to keep us, you better have a car project. That's how you read it? Is that how you read it, Renee? That's how I read it.
I mean, like, so I want to be careful what I say because I knew a lot of the people who were involved in it at the time. But basically, there's a group of people who want to invent the next thing. They have very little interest in making the third iPhone, the fourth iPad, and a lot of them had already left Apple. And that's like a flow. People leave Apple, they come back. They have like sabbaticals. I think if you come back within 2 years, you don't lose your experience. But when Apple announced this project, and I think it was heavily driven by both like Dan Riccio and Johnny Ives teams, that was new and exciting, and a bunch of those people came back. And there was also a bunch of people on the existing teams like UIKit and Springboard and all of those who were being lured away by Titan. And, you know, their managers are like, it's a flash in the pan, don't go anywhere. It's much more important to work on the foundation. And they're like, I want to work on a car. You know, and then it's been reset 3 or 4 times now. But there's absolutely people who want to be at Apple because they want to change the world and they think the next device is going to do it.
I mean, if I were a AAA programmer, I would pick the project I wanted to work on. Probably more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think
they kind of also ruined it. Like they made it such a big. I'll just finish with this quickly. But they made it such a big deal. Like they basically decided to reinvent everything at Apple, from radar to get rid of all the C languages. This was pre-Swift. Reinvent everything, and that was totally beyond scope for what you needed to do to produce a shipping car and anything approaching a decade. And so, like, unfettered engineering, future thinking, Tony Stark bravado isn't always the best either.
Apparently, Google is offering free scooters from Unagi.
They got rid of the Toto toilet seats.
This is according to the Verge last month, that Google offers employees free electric scooters to get them back to the office. It seems to me it's going to take more than a free scooter. Seats. You know, you give me some stock options, I can buy my own freaking scooter.
Well, they're giving them stock options as well.
That's more important, And even more important, perhaps, is not having to go into the office. I think that's a pretty high priority. I don't want to go back to, there's that idiot, Joe who keeps coming over and saying, what are you going to have for lunch?
I know a lot of Google people who had to go back to at least 2 days a week. You know, it's not, they're not all.
I think it's less being in the office and more the drive, like the drive through Mountain View or Palo Alto or many of these. It's just brutal, and again, you're stuck in. I mean, for those living in the South Bay, I'm sorry to say this, but it's not a very nice place to live. Like it's not.
It's a very expensive place with no culture.
Super expensive.
Zero culture.
And it's flat, and it's not. There's not a lot of. I mean, unless you have
That's why Johnny Ive lived in San Francisco, right?
If you've got $4 or $5 million to spend on a house, there's a lot of great places in the South Bay that are that I've worked in. So those are great houses. But if you have less than about $1.5 million to buy a house in the South Bay, it's really going to be rough. Yeah. Like and that's a crazy. Those numbers are crazy.
If you don't have to, if you can work from home could be anywhere. Barbados. It doesn't.
I know people that were working at Google in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like they were like they finished they'd finish up all the stuff, and then or get in the first in the morning. They're out surfing, and they come in and have meetings. It's a good thing.
Somebody wants to fax the radio show in the chat room. Excuse me. There is no fax. The fax is a lie.
I mean, the AR Stuff's office is in Boulder, and I think a lot of people escaped to that area.
Boulder's beautiful
during the last 2 years.
Yeah, my son went to college there. Boulder is California in Colorado. It's great.
27 square. We used to joke. I used to live in Boulder. It's 27 square miles surrounded by reality.
Yeah,
it's
he
amazing.
went to
it's an amazing place.
Colorado University of Boulder.
Yeah.
Which they called UC Boulder because half the people there were from California.
I took you a second to get that.
Yeah, University of California at Boulder. Yeah. Apple has responded to the letter we talked about last week from the film industry, the open letter to. We talked about this last week, didn't we? I hope we did.
Week before, I think.
Week before. Apple's response to the Final Cut Pro in TV and film open letter, the letter to Tim Cook that said Apple has to make some changes if they want to win back the film and TV industry. Did you read the letter, Alex? You're part of this industry.
I did.
Did you find it compelling?
They Not really. I mean, I think that it was like, sure, like, yeah, we're going to have FMC. FMC is great. They do a lot of good work, and they're going to have some more classes, and that's fine. But I still think that it would not be very hard for Apple to say, we're going to take one scene, or we're going to take different pieces out of the content, all this content that they're paying for, and start giving people real behind the scenes, like how to deal with it. It would be the coolest thing that you could, the coolest way to learn how to do this stuff is to get more content that is like how to build this, and really a breakdown of what that looks like, and live streams with those. And those things would, if Apple got into that program and spent, I don't know, a couple $1 million a year on it, it would make a huge difference. And I don't think that Apple should try to get Hollywood back. I think they should just arm the peasants with better forks.
Probably what Hollywood's afraid of, actually.
But I don't think you should try to get the folks that are inside the castle to do anything. I think you just give the people outside the castle better tools to get inside the castle. So just train everybody outside of Hollywood to do it way better in Final Cut, and you'll solve the problem through attrition.
They are going to, as you said, launch new training products and Apple authorized certs for Pro Video with their partner Future Media Concepts.
And I think that's cute, but no one cares about those certs.
Interesting.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I like your idea. I really do. And plus it has the benefit of everybody can learn from that. You don't have, even that kid who's, self-taught. Establishing a panel of industry experts, for regular consultations starting this summer. Didn't Apple make a big deal about bringing in industry experts to design the Mac Pro when they did the new Mac Pro?
There's a team. They have a Pro Workflows team that does that. So so they have people doing that now that are really smart. Like the people that are working on that and they come from all over the industry. They're not necessarily Apple people. They're just people who know how to do great production, and so they're already working through that. I think that the main thing that, again, what gets people excited is working on real projects, and giving them real projects has them learn. Like, here are all the things that are, that are there, and here's how to put that together, and here's conversations. I think that consulting with folks in the industry, they're just going to tell them that you make it more like Avid. That's not the answer. The answer is take the folks that are doing it in Final Cut, that are doing really high level stuff, and have them make sure that everybody knows how to work in Final Cut at a high level, and because most people, even myself included, I think I barely know how to use Final Cut. I've been using it since 0.9 of the first one. And I still feel like, especially with Final Cut 10, I do a lot of work in it. I cut a lot of things. And then every time I deal with someone who edits every day, all day, I'm kind of amazed. I'm like, you can do what? And you can do this? And so I think that it's more about teaching everybody what the tricks of the trade and how to take full advantage of Final Cut and Motion. Motion is the best deal in the century. $50. There's so many things that Motion does. Just one thing. Like, I make countdown clocks in Motion. I make lots of countdown clocks for live streams. I make them all in Motion. I use 3D. I use all kinds of other things for them. If Motion was a $50 tool that just made countdown clocks, I'd pay for it. But it does. And if it. And then I did 120 visual effects shots for a feature film in Motion. Like, just green screen and everything else. And so it's, and we did it, and that was in 2008, and we were, looping green screens in real time back then. And so it's these apps are incredibly powerful, and they're just, the certification thing's cute. But giving people real content and having them dig through it and have them interactively talk to you about it and do workshops where people can learn it. I don't care about the pieces of paper. Like, when I look at someone, I don't really care what certifications they have. And I don't think there's nobody I know that cares about those certifications look like. What people need is real world content and a real world expert to tell them how to synthesize that content into a final product.
That's really what happens on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right now, how I learn everything now is I have a computer open with YouTube on this screen over here. Yep. And I sit there and I work on whether it's Cinema 4D or whatever. And I just sit there, search, and, and find what I'm looking for. And I basically brute force my way through learning applications by having YouTube open and just watching, watching these little, and then I, of course, I'm complain half the time because people have a big preamble and they talk about it.
I know. Hit the button and do all of that. I know. It takes you 10 minutes to get into a YouTuber. Sorry, YouTubers.
You should start immediately. I have something about the Pro Workflows team because I find them fascinating. Like, they are people who you would recognize their names. Like, almost anyone in our industry would recognize the names of the people who joined that team. And they work inside Apple. And part of their purview is just to hit everything, not just Apple apps, but anything that runs on any Apple gear. Find problems in the workflow, like bottlenecks or inefficiencies. And they'll talk to a ton of people in the industry. Like, they'll talk to everybody who's actually using the tools, and then they'll go and harass Apple internally. They'll go harass Adobe. They'll go harass Blackmagic and say, this could be twice as fast, 3 times as fast. Why are you doing this? Do this instead. And they'll do the same thing with hardware. They report to John Turnus, who's the senior vice president of hardware, and they're like, we need the reason it looks like you can push a Mac Pro around a back studio lot is because they wanted to push a Mac Pro around a back studio lot. So it's like a really high end production team internal to Apple.
It's like this little SEAL Team 6 inside of Apple.
Yeah,
like a production SEAL Team 6, and they're not connected to just Macs either. I don't think they can use anything they want, and then they come back and tell Apple why they use the PC. So.
Do not mess with Apple if you're making parts for the iPhone. A producer, BOE, where are they, in China?
Yeah, they're famous for taking Samsung's OLED process and replicating it.
We're contracted for, according to Apple Insider, 30 million iPhone 14 OLED screens until they were alleged to have changed the circuit width of the thin film transistors. Apple caught them in February, halted production, and they're now reportedly at risk of losing all the orders for 30 million screens for the iPhone. This doesn't, it resonates with me because after reading Trip Mickle's book, story after story of Johnny Ive flying to Foxconn and looking at the aluminum saying, why are there streaks in the aluminum?
Oh, I know somebody who worked at a supplier and had meetings with Apple, and they're like, Apple's like, we want this. And they're like, we could cut your budget by in half if we just do this. We don't want that. But we could save you so. Are you listening to us? We told you what we want. Can you do it or not? And that's like, they want exactly what they want, and they will spend more money if a part is like a little bit faster, a little bit more environmentally friendly. They have zero patience and unlimited budget for that stuff. But BOE has lost their business like 3-4 years in a row because, like, allegedly they took Samsung's OLED process and replicated it in China and tried to offer it at a lower price. But it's just really expensive stuff. It's really hard to do right. It's really hard. It's almost impossible to do right at scale, which is why Samsung can charge so much for those displays and why everybody else wants more suppliers of those displays. But it sounds like another year, another gone.
Where does Apple go? Do they go to Samsung to get the displays?
Samsung and LG.
LG, yeah.
LG's gotten better. They used to not be as good, but Google and Apple funneled money into LG to get their stuff to be more competitive.
Yeah. The source for this is the elec.net. THEELEC.
Well, and I should point out that the elec is a trade rag in the most Korean of senses, in that they will often, the articles there are often the companies negotiating publicly.
Oh, interesting.
I always take what they say with a huge grain of salt.
Okay,
because they'll say Samsung is getting this order, BOE is getting that, and a lot of times it's their meetings are going on and they're using this as a public way to bargain or to pitch business.
Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. It's a great story, though.
Yes. Could be true. Doesn't mean it's not true. It just means they want it out there. Like apparently, Samsung or somebody wants it out there.
When they went to China to get the stand for the iMac, that curved aluminum foot for the iMac, everybody said, oh, that can't be done. And they finally made a machine to do it. And then Johnny Ive looks at it and says, there are streaks in the aluminum. And they figured out, oh, it's being contaminated by boron. No one else saw the streaks, but Johnny Ive saw the streaks, and they were able to figure out a way to do it.
It was that great story, like him at the airport sitting with his friend, and he goes, I can't. And the friend's like, what's wrong? He's like, I can't not see the seams in this bar. And his friend looks,
yes,
and it's totally flat. It's perfect. And he goes, it must be freaking terrible to be you.
I don't get the feeling Johnny is a happy person. He walks through life disappointed all the time by everything around
designer
him.
Friends like that, right? Like they'll walk around and go, oh, Mistral. Why is that typeface Mistral? Why is that store sign? And you're like, it's a store sign. Why is it destroying your life? It is. It's destroying.
Do not be a designer. Do not be a designer.
You get used to it. I mean, I have to admit that
You're a specular highlight guy. I know.
I'm a constant state of upset, and I've just gotten. You just have to become one with the upset. It's not like it's
like it's just Alex.
Well,
life is imperfect, Alex.
No, but it's like that. But if you're working at Apple's the place that lets your OCD run free.
Yeah.
Like you just and but I think that I think that you just have to get used to. There's just certain personalities. I fit into that I'm just upset about everything all the time. Like it's to some level, like I'm just like, this stinks and this should be longer and this should be this way and this this.
I don't ever want to watch TV with you.
It's like audiophiles listening to music, or people who see drop frames watching looking at graphics.
No, I'm just I get with resolution to the plot line to the script.
I try not to get contaminated by Alex's point of view. I just try to.
I've learned to hold it to myself most of the time, because it ruins life for everybody else. Like in my cauldron, it's okay. Like I know what to do with it and where to put it, how to put it in a box. But if I started telling everybody what goes through my head about every piece of object around me, it'd be upsetting.
Time out for a mention of one of our fine sponsors. We shall continue with the never satisfied Alex Lindsay. OfficeHours.global. That's a good look, Alex. I like it. 090.media. If you want this perfectionist making your stream the best it's ever been. Andy Anako from WGBH Boston. It's always a pleasure having Andy, who has a little bit more of a sanguine approach to life. Sometimes I think a diner's burger might dissatisfy, but you don't storm out in a huff. Oh, he's muted.
I haven't known. I haven't muted.
We muted you. I apologize. Okay. That was our fault.
That's okay. That's usually a smart thing. But no,
Andy, I just want you to know, I don't control it. I have no buttons.
Fine. No. Again, I bow down before our estimable producers. They absolutely know what they're doing. But no, I don't. I've never left a diner in a huff. I haven't had a car for like 5 or 6 years. So
it's hard to huff when you're walking.
I don't know if that's the hot new e-car or something like that.
The huff. I need a huff.
There's a good one about a mile away.
Wasn't there an old car, a huff? Sounds familiar, actually.
Hupmobile.
The Hupmobile. Also with us, Renee Ritchie, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. If I seem a little jollier today than usual, it's because I had such a good night's sleep last night on my beautiful 8 Sleep Pod Pro cover. Sleep is nature's gentle nurse, the ultimate game changer. Consistent good sleep can reduce the likelihood of serious health issues, decrease the risk of heart disease, lower blood pressure, even reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. And yet, sad to say, more than 30% of Americans struggle with sleep, and temperature is one of the main causes. Yes, temperature of poor sleep. I do not have to fear the heat or the cold because I have the 8 Sleep Pod Pro cover. What is it? Well, I'm glad you asked. You put it over your bed. They actually make mattresses as well. We have a mattress we like, so we just got the cover, put it over the mattress. It does dynamic cooling and heating with biometric tracking. It can go as cool as 55 degrees Fahrenheit, as hot as 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or anywhere in between. You set it initially the way you feel like you like it. And I think for most people, the idea is, and certainly it works for me, start a little cozy in the evening, a +2 or 3 on the dial. And then as I fall into deeper and deeper sleep, the 8 Sleep actually supports that by cooling off. Turns out that is what your body expects, to cool off at night. And then I have it set to wake me up in the morning. Instead of an alarm, I have the 8 Sleep start to warm up. And I wake up feeling cozy, comfortable, and well-rested. But after you set your initial settings, the 8 Sleep biometric tracking will monitor your sleep and do what it can to improve it by modifying the temperature. Now, Lisa has completely different sleep patterns, but the cover will adjust each side of the bed based on your particular biometrics. It also looks at the bedroom temperature. If it's really hot in there, it'll cool you off. In fact, you don't have to fear hot summer nights or chilly winter nights ever again with 8 Sleep. 8 Sleep users fall asleep up to 32% faster, reduce sleep interruptions by 40%, and get overall a more restful sleep. 30% more deep sleep means you're just feeling great for the day. Your physical recovery, your hormone regulation, your mental clarity, incredible. Show up as your best self with 8 sleep. I know I can never sleep without it now. That's just, it's like it's a requirement. I love it. 8, I'm a little worried about, travel. What am I going to do without my 8 sleep? Maybe they need to make an affordable 8 sleep. Go to 8sleep.com/MacBreak, EIGHTSLEEP. This is a really good time because they've got exclusive Memorial Day savings through June 6th. So do not wait. Head on over to 8sleep.com/MacBreak. Cool down this summer with 8 Sleep. Shipping in the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. And if you're hearing this later, after June 6th, just use 8sleep.com/MacBreak and check out the Pod Pro cover. You'll save $150 at checkout. It was Kevin Rose told me about the 8 Sleep, and then Amy Webb got it, and she said, Kevin's right. And then I got it. We've had it for about 6 months. Couldn't live without it. 8sleep.com/MacBreak. Thank you so much for supporting Macbreak Weekly. Top 100 most influential people of 2022. Who else?
Survey says Tim Cook. They didn't give him a number. He's just in the list.
Yep.
But I like it. What I really like is that the little, they always get somebody who knows you to write a little piece about it. Yeah. The little piece about Tim Cook is written by Laurene Powell Jobs, Steve Jobs' widow, which is really cool. He's on the cover of the Time 100, so I guess he's number 1. There's 4 covers, though, so I think they want to keep us guessing.
Oh, rats. I mean, and, these lists are, they are what they are. But I think it's nice. I really think it's great that he does, after reading this book, he deserves it, absolutely. But also, I love it that Laurene Powell
Jobs. The blurb is really astute, too. Like, she did a great job characterizing what makes him exceptional in this particular time and age.
Apple is Tim Cook's life work, and in this work, Tim displays mastery, she writes. He's demonstrated more range in his leadership of one of the world's largest companies than any contemporary CEO. Business wisdom, philosophical wisdom. She talks about the pressure of setting and executing Apple's progression with deep precision, taking responsibility for the company's effects on society, something her husband notably did not do. Although she has done absolutely since his passing. She's been very active in good works. Tim does it with compassion and discipline, she writes, turning to nature to replenish his spirit. In the summer, he can be found hiking in our national parks, buoyed by the majesty of the mountains. Wow.
Steve didn't believe in pimping karma. He thought if you did it and told people, then you were doing it for bad reasons.
Right.
That you had to keep all of that to yourself. And Tim believes that you can lead by example.
Well, I think the employees appreciate it as well. As one of the very first things he did when he took over as CEO is to do matching and encourage employees to give. And so that really makes a big difference. Tim strives valiantly, she writes, dares greatly, and spends himself in a grand cause. In fact, that is another thing I got from the Trip Mickle book, is that Tim is an absolute workaholic. Nobody can keep up with. Yeah. Gets up almost at 4 in the morning. He has apparently very few outside interests. Lives on steamed vegetables and fish.
And Mountain Dew. That's quite a combo. Steamed vegetables, chicken, and Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, and never a diner. Never a diner.
A little bit of California, a little bit of Alabama.
Yeah. Definitely. War Eagle all the way. So that's cool. Good job, and well deserved, I think. We knew this would happen. It happens every year around about this time. The Pride Watch Edition watch bands are out, and along with it, a new Shot on iPhone Pride campaign, which will launch in June. The bands always come with a face as well.
Yep.
Pride Edition Sport Loop, a color gradient that incorporates the original rainbow colors with those drawn from various Pride flags, including light blue, pink, white. That's kind of cool. There's the let's see. I think that's the is that the
there's regular and there's Nike.
That's the threads. Yeah, so it's more pastel than in previous years. It was kind of a pure rainbow in previous years. It's very pretty.
Yeah, that's a good example of the stuff that we were just talking about. That it's become like sort of a tradition. Even when I stopped wearing an Apple Watch, that I switched the band to my fitness band to a Pride style band because I just like the idea of basically flying those colors in support. And it did like I think they're the first one to really support that kind of idea, like for fitness watches. And now you can't buy a fitness watch that does not have some sort of a rainbow or a Pride band available for it. And this is how subtly Apple interweaves its values and its morals into how they operate with daily business.
This is the Nike band, which is less pastel, has a black thread woven in, which is apparently part of Nike's campaign.
Yeah,
they're both beautiful, very pretty. Here's the shot on iPhone Pride campaign from Harvey Milk Plaza in San Francisco to Paulista Avenue in Sao Paulo. The Shot on Pride campaign showcases places of historic significance to the LGBTQ plus movement. That's cool. So those new ads and campaigns will be out in June for Pride Month.
It's a stark contrast to how Netflix is in the news about the very similar issues today.
Oh yeah, there you go, Ricky Gervais. Good
Class
old Ricky.
Yeah.
Well, but I think part of Ricky's act is to be hated by somebody.
No, well, part of his act is to be absolutely smug and insufferable. And
that's another way to put it. Yeah.
I mean, no, it's just that what annoys me is that he heads off any possible criticism by saying, no, but anybody who says they're offended by any joke is just an idiot. So if you hear anybody like criticize me for whatever I say in a stand-up act, it's not because it wasn't funny. It's not because this is the wrong time to make a joke like that. It's not because it promotes people. You're basically promoting an ethos that lawmakers are now using to persecute LGBTQ plus people. No, it's because you're small-minded and not as clever as I am.
Yeah, but that's always the comics' defense, isn't it? It's just a joke, man.
Only the hacks
until they get hit.
Only the hacks.
Prehistoric Planet. I missed it last night. Was it good?
I missed it too.
So much fun. It's so much fun.
So it's all this week. There's 5 episodes. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But I presume I can go back and watch last night's. I mean, right? Yeah. Okay.
No, it's all out one time.
Swimming was like all over the social.
It was so beautifully done. This isn't the first documentary style thing where we're going to be including CGI in such a way that it'll feel as though it's been filmed. And yeah, it's really great graphics and really helps to sell the point they're trying to make about these creatures. But this is the first one where my brain bought it like immediately. That's like, no, especially, maybe part of it was having Attenborough's voice over it.
Oh God,
the user interface of the master, but still. It was used not as a stunt, not as a hey, look how clever we are with digital graphics, but like no, here is a way that we can tell these stories in ways that we haven't been able to do before, and so perfectly done. What a jewel in Apple TV's content crown.
First episode, Coasts. I would do my Attenborough, but I probably shouldn't. But it sure begs it, doesn't it? A pregnant Tyrannosaurus is in distress, and her young calf can sense it as she travels waters that are home to the ocean's deadliest predators.
I just think that there's such a huge opportunity to visualize so many things. And I will say that my favorite things in Apple TV are the nonfiction. Like, so I know that there's a lot of great series. I haven't been able to get really into any of them, but the Mark Ronson one on music, the Tiny World, these are the things that keep coming back. And what's great about that is Apple is picking up these verticals while they're looking for these big kind of narrative things that they are digging in and doing, just throwing, just take things that other people have done and then throw all the money into it, and just make it amazing. And so the thing that keeps me hooked to Apple, I probably drop Apple TV if it wasn't for the non-fictional stuff. I don't find any of the other fictional stuff very interesting.
Well, and they're smart because they dole it out just enough to keep you subscribed. No fools they. Tonight will be deserts. I mean, I'm not going to miss dreadnoughts fighting amongst each other. So the idea, if you don't know yet, is it's a nature series, but it's featuring prehistoric creatures, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And it's done in
maybe
such an
it's a
amazing
repeat?
way that you think it's real.
Yeah, I would say that the best stuff is in the trailer. From a visual effects perspective, I will say that it is.
Yeah, tell us.
It's exceptional. It's exceptional CG, not in my eyes, not photoreal. So there's parts of it, there's hints of it that I think get just right.
This is the perfectionist Alex Lindsay coming in.
Yeah. So I think that it is a.
He made the mirror spaceship.
So it's an exceptional CG.
But you can
really
kind of
well
tell
done.
it's CG.
But you can, it just has that. It's the next 2 or 3% to make it look.
You can kind of tell, right?
The next 2 or 3% to make that photo real is a delta of like $100 million.
Yeah, or wait 5 years.
Oh, God, don't say that word.
But it's it's like She-Hulk because it's just not real. Like you can't make. I'm never going to accept a giant green person. It's just never going to register in my brain.
But
therefore,
what
it's
I
going
would
to be a
say
cartoon.
There are shots of the T-Rex that I think that get there. It's definitely like there's some shots that I felt went over and just was like, wow, I'm just looking at it. And a lot of it has to do with fine detail and specular highlight. We were talking about that earlier, but like little there's a little detail across the surface that sometimes is missing on some of these, and it's a really hard detail to add in there.
Is it a question of time or technology?
I think it's a little bit of time and it's just, I think it's time. It's just a lot of people's time. You need to take it to that.
In other words, we have the technology to do it better, but it would just take more time to do it.
Cloning dinosaurs is really expensive, Leo.
Yeah, I know.
But I would. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I would put it this way, that for me, the reality of it wasn't so much picking out the light effects and the rendering. Alex has much better eyes than I do for that sort of thing. For me, it's the idea that they made the same simple fundamental choice at the outset that is essential to great effects and great graphics, which is if there were a person with a camera filming this, how would they shoot that? How would they get that shot? How would they move the camera? Where would they want to be in relation to where the natural source of light is? How fast could they move that camera? Like, what would we be able to catch? What would they be able to miss? And the idea that all these things, they have weight, they have physics, they have momentum. That's what really sells it to me. My problem with a lot of like Hollywood blockbuster graphics is that at some point, you can tell where they went from like the live action with whatever graphic overlay to now you're looking at the full CG version of this, because suddenly like this like 800-pound behemoth is filled with helium. Suddenly instead of being a camera operator who's filming this fight from the street corner, it's like a drone the size of a fly that can basically go into one nostril then out the ear because a director thought that'd be an exciting shot. So it's not just the photorealism of one frame. I love the discipline and restraint they had in deciding, no, our reality is that we are shooting with a camera crew, a documentary camera crew. It has to look a certain way.
And I definitely think that realism in camera shots and the approach, obviously. They brought people in that have done a lot of these kind of films and said, this is how we would shoot it. And this is how we're going to look at it. And this is where we'd put the camera. So I think that those decisions, Andy's completely right. And again, 6 hours of this kind of content, that's, 3 Pixar films, so I mean, it would be hundreds of millions of dollars to take it to the next, level, because there's so many CG so many CG animals in there to manage. So I understand it. I just, it was one of those things that I probably, I gave you a preview of how I look at the world, but I think that when I saw the trailer, I think I was like, oh, this is going to be like realistic and then when I got to it, I was like, that's good. And I'm really enjoying it. I love prehistoric stuff, and I'm going to watch every one of these.
Get a little mayonnaise in your glasses.
Not fully inebriated, just mildly.
Have a couple of drinks. Yeah.
What I would say is that school, there's a real opportunity. Hopefully Apple will take advantage of this, of making this into, they keep on doing things like this. they could build a curriculum for schools that is, here's a bunch of stuff that you can watch about dinosaurs that's very as historically accurate as we can be about things that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Yeah. And then here's some USDZ models of the things that you can look at, and here's a curriculum that you could use to teach about those things. And so you could really add a lot of things that are there that they could distribute to schools, because schools can't. They can't afford to do this. So even Pearson can't afford to do what Apple's doing. So I think that there's a real opportunity for Apple to use this as a service back. Discovery has done this for years, of building, in-class curriculum for a lot of the stuff that they've done. And so I think that Apple could hopefully do a lot of that around some of this content. Do you know what software they used? My guess is probably a mixture of Maya and Houdini. That's probably those are probably the two big apps that, because Maya is not, Houdini does things that nothing else can do, like the ocean spray and a lot of the plant life and everything else. And I'm just completely guessing. I have absolutely no idea, for a fact. Maya is really a core element, and then people just build on it. And so you say Maya, but it's really all the custom software that was built by whatever visual effects firm built this or did this. But those are the two biggest apps that would probably be used as something at this level.
Do they use in-house software still a lot, Alex?
Well, what happens is Maya has become a lot of people's in-house software. What happened was that Maya was designed really for the ILM pipeline, which is ILM was like, we don't need you to build every little piece of skin or simulator. What we need you to do is give us a great core that you'll keep on updating, and then we'll build all the plugins onto it. And so most visual effects firms have kind of built around all of that. And so they use Maya as a core aspect of it, and then they just customize the heck out of it. So it's at some point it becomes 20 or 30% Maya, and but they don't have to worry about that. But they don't. Renderman's still a thing, but there's a lot of rendering that is. Definitely Renderman's still in the pipe in different pipelines. But there's a lot of. Those are the rendering engines. So Renderman's really a rendering engine. So it's the thing that draws everything out, but it's not doing the animation. It's doing the turning all that into a finished frame.
The Wikipedia article says the series had been in development by the BBC for 10 years. Apple gave them the money and ordered the documentary 3 years ago. Hans Zimmer does the score. Jon Favreau is the producer. The series uses up-to-date paleontological research to depict animals of the Cretaceous with scientific rigor. In fact, the most modern paleontology says that dinosaurs were probably covered with feathers, so you may see a juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex with feathers.
So my fear of birds is founded, is what you're saying.
Yes. Paleozoologist Darren Neisch and science illustrator Gabriel Ugueto were consulted for depictions of the prehistoric life. The concept art and creature design created by Jellyfish Pictures, computer-generated imagery developed by the Moving Picture Company. They're the folks who did The Lion King and The Jungle Book, which were, those photorealistic mix of human live action and
something good came of those two movies. Great.
Yeah. Fascinating. I was looking. I found this article. I was looking for the budget. What do you think the budget was, Alex?
I'd be surprised if they ended up spending more than $100 million on it. I mean, I think that it's probably somewhere between 60 and 100 million.
It's really more time than money. And
it's just rendering time. It's people's time. It's detailed time. It's but I think that, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't spend, 10 million an episode for it. Yeah. It's a lot of development.
Although compared to, the next Game of Thrones, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what I'd heard is that
dragons are hard. Yeah,
I think, and they didn't show the dragons that often. And a lot in the dark, as we noticed in the last episode.
For good reason.
I think that I had heard that the Game of Thrones, except for some of the final ones, was like 8 to 12 million. A copy. Yeah.
Apple is looking to create a new creative class. They've expanded today at Apple Creative Studios for young creatives. All new creative studio sessions open to the local community. This is another Apple press release. Apple will provide mentors along with 30 nonprofit community partners Books, storytelling, app design, radio, podcasts, photography, film, and TV. Participants will receive hands-on education, training, and feedback. So they're going to teach people how to podcast. Just what we need, more podcasters.
You know, I will say that still one of the hidden things that Apple does are those classes at the school at the Apple stores.
Yeah,
my kids, when they go to LA, that's what their grandmother takes them to, like a couple a day, and they just love them, and they learn so much about their tools. They're really well done.
Here's New York City, Paris, Milan, Miami, so all over the world, Berlin. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, if you happen to be near one. New York will have app design, Miami books and storytelling, podcasts, music, and radio will be taught in Berlin, Nashville, Chicago, and Paris, Taipei, and Milan for art and design, of course, London, Sydney, Beijing, Tokyo, and Bangkok for photography, film, and TV.
It's a little too bad that they don't do more virtual. They could have classes of thousands, taking it.
At least the film one is 6 weeks. I don't know how long the other ones are, but that's six free days for your folks, for your parents. Send your kids out there right now. They'll learn something useful. All right, what is A2657? The world wants to know. As you know, if you're going to release something with radio frequency, you've got to go to the FCC. New filings from the FCC, according to 9 to 5 Mac, reveal a mysterious new, quote, network adapter from Apple, codename A2657, that runs iOS 15.5, 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC antennas, plus a USB-C port. The accessory features 32 gigs of internal storage, 1.5 gigs of RAM. A second version of the same product has Lightning instead of USB-C and a gig of RAM.
That's the one for North America because the EU is not here.
Oh, could be.
I'm just kidding, but maybe.
No, that could be.
No, but yeah.
It sounds like it's the. I don't know. What do you think this? This is really weird. What do you think this is?
Is it the display? Is it the mini LED version of the display?
It's a network adapter. Has an integral battery. It sounds like iPod Touch, but I don't think it's that. I don't know.
I have no clue. There was a lot of discussion recently about a little bit on this show about how, gosh, I wish Apple would get back into wireless networking.
Do you think that's maybe what this is? Yeah,
but this has to be plugged into a computer, which doesn't make any.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why.
Yeah, the FCC filings show that it was plugged in. It is designed to be plugged in.
I don't want to rain on your parades anymore, Leo, but it also could just be something that Apple technicians use at an Apple store.
Oh.
Like a lot of times some of those filings happen.
Yeah.
So may not be a consumer. Might be, but may not be a consumer
Apple,
product.
according to 9 to 5 Mac, has multiple devices registered with the FCC that are intended for internal purposes, tools used by technicians to repair iPhones and Macs. Oh, never mind.
No, it could be something amazing.
Could be something good.
Laser beam. Yeah.
Something exciting.
Apple cappuccino
a laser beam. Wi-Fi enabled cappuccino.
They got to send those Apple stores something, right?
Ooh.
Why buy them Keurigs if you can send them Apple machines?
Yeah, a machine that can do retina level of detail on the top of your cappuccino froth.
Apple is, as one would expect, looking to find other places to make its devices. From the Wall Street Journal, Apple looks to boost production outside China. iPhone maker tells suppliers it wants to manufacture more in India and Southeast Asia. I guess it's just not practical for them to bring manufacturing home.
Also,
it's probably not. But
a lot of I was just going to say a lot of these markets are actually demanding local manufacture. Like India is trying to.
India and Brazil both require it to be made locally. Yeah.
It also gives Apple cover to move out of China. So it's
and leverage.
This is it's some leverage, but if China does anything towards Taiwan, this gets really complicated really quickly. Yeah. And so a lot of manufacturers are trying to figure out how to diversify, because if we applied the same embargoes, the same things that are happening to Russia to China, it would definitely affect Apple's ability to produce So
and
I think that a lot of
lockdown right now, the COVID lockdown in Shanghai, is holding Apple laptops hostage, and Quantum makes those.
And I think that that's their cover, is that they have a reason to be able to tell China that, you're not able to produce it, and we need to make sure that we keep on doing our thing. But I think that a lot of folks are pretty concerned about China's interest in the South Sea.
Wall Street Journal quotes people in the industry who said many of the reasons Apple has long kept China as its manufacturing hub remain in place: a well-trained workforce, low costs relative to the U.S., and a deep network of parts suppliers that's hard to recreate elsewhere without years of effort. They point out that with the exception of India, the pool of qualified workers in China exceeds the entire population of many alternative countries in Asia.
Yeah. Well, but I think that what's stunning is that China has made it worth their while to move. I mean, with both, with not to get too much into politics, but with both countries, Russia and China, people just want to do business with them. If they weren't rattling sabers and bullying their neighbors, people would just keep on working with them. These are kind of unforced errors on those countries because they're
it's an unforced error on Putin, but Putin didn't have a lot to lose. I really wonder if China will push Taiwan or the disputed islands with Japan and so forth, because this is a big part of their economy. I know they're making noise, but they're going up to the edge, but I don't know if they're
right. The noise is creating decisions, though. That's the problem. Is if you're not going to do it, stop making the noise, because they're making noise that's causing a lot of companies to make decisions. Yeah. It's a really a stunning example of hubris.
Well, it's a complicated calculus, and just the other week, Russian state nationalized Google's assets inside the company. I mean, this is the
Google declared bankruptcy in Russia because
we got
nothing left.
Yeah, and when you have power that's being when you have someone who's basically naming themselves president for life and basically has enough power and enough pull and enough influence and enough names and receipts to basically make sure that there was this law that said that I can't run for another term, but I propose that we make that we abolish that in my case. The problem is that then you have someone who is going to be doing increasingly desperate things to hold on to power because that's all that they can see, and they don't like the idea of what happens to them after they're removed from power. And so this is how it's easy to imagine any situation like what's going on in China eventually devolving into a Putin situation.
Yeah, although China, the CPC may be making or CCP may be making the calculus that, well, go ahead, try to make it outside of China. Let's see how. Their
economy is starting to feel a bit of a crash from the real estate crisis, real estate banking crisis. So this is also a case where we've had past very, very great and in-depth conversations about Apple's relationship with China. But one of the things that's very, very positive is that Apple does have this ability to say that, look, here's how much money that you're making from our manufacturing, and here's how much money you're making from the halo effect of your manufacturing being capable of manufacturing stuff to our tolerances. Why if you did something that made it impossible for us to continue to do business in your country, how are you going to be able to deal with that? Would you rather have our business, or would you rather have half of our business?
Well, and which is why it would be hard for Apple to move out when there wasn't a COVID situation where they're locking down things and making it hard for Apple to actually produce. Apple would be creating more upset. But right now, Apple's like, well, we got to do something because we don't know. Yeah. We have to, so they have kind of a cover to keep on moving out of the country because, China's got a lot of problems. I mean, they have a stunning birth rate problem that is going to eventually become a falling birth rate. Fallen. Yeah. They can't turn the corner on that. And so they're becoming top heavy population wise, and that is a massive destabilizing account for them to deal with. And so, Apple needs to do something, and diversify. And I think that they are, and I think that it's smart, and I think they should keep doing it.
So what do you think of this story about the woman who dropped her Apple Watch on the Disney EPCOT ride and claims that subsequently there were $40,000 of fraudulent charges?
I don't know how that's supposed to work.
I don't know how that would happen.
Yeah. Because it locks, and you can't unlock it without the passcode.
Yeah, there's more to this story. Unless her passcode was 11111. It's only 4 digits. Maybe they just accidentally.
There's no security system in the world that can overcome humans.
Yeah. So what if her password was 1111? Yeah. I mean, I would believe this. This woman dropped the watch. She was fidgeting with her watch on the Seas with Nemo and Friends attraction. Her husband jumped off. She could see it. It had fallen through a grate. Her husband jumped off, tried to fish it out of the grate, which, of course, immediately stopped the ride, and they were escorted out. The watch did not get returned to them, even though she felt like the Disney employees could see it, as could they. She said she has several credit cards linked to the watch, including an American Express card with an unlimited credit line. I bet you it was. So if it was 1111 and some lucky Disney cast member figured that out, could you put it on, type 1111, and then buy stuff? But how would you buy $40,000? You'd have to buy a boat.
At Disney.
At Disney.
Or a couple of dinners.
A couple of dinners at Disney, yeah.
Oh, they got that $6,000 a night Star Wars cosplay experience. Yeah.
I think that's actually just general tickets for family of 6. It's about $40,000.
Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no word of what the thief bought.
It was an Hermes watch too, Leo. It was like a $1,300 or $1,700 watch.
Now I know you guys don't read 9 to 5 Google. Well, maybe you do, Andy, because you do a show called Material all about. That kind of thing. And maybe you do, Renee, because...
They just hired Max Weinbach.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pixel Watch will have USB charging cable and shares the same manufacturer as the Apple Watch.
Second part, I don't care. First part is super interesting to me. Because usually they don't put ports in... Well, I don't know about all the Android Wear watches, but like for swim-proofing a watch, ports makes it super complicated.
Yeah, I mean, my Galaxy Watch has a puck, just like the Apple Watch, really. Yeah. On the back. Maybe that's what they mean. Taiwan's Compal Electronics will manufacture the Pixel Watch, which they also manufacture the Apple Watch.
Yeah, there's a bunch of controversy because a lot of people were excited that, finally we've had faith that at some point Google would make an actual Pixel Watch and suddenly Wear OS would not stink again. But then the later update is that actually it's going to be using the same CPU as like a 2020 I think edition of the Samsung Galaxy Watch, which may be a problem, but might not be, because maybe they'll optimize it. They'll add co-processors to make it work. It seems to have the same fitness sensors as the Fitbit Charge 5 or something that's already on the market. We'll still have to find out. They have such a long way to go. They have such a long way to go to make. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Google has this weird thing. Some companies have this weird thing where if like a product is delayed, they don't feel like they can take the time to refresh it to whatever the next year's specs are, because that'll just delay it further. And if it's not already in a high-speed production line, the way like Apple Watches and iPhones are like falling off the treadmill like all the time. They're just falling off, and you've got to keep them updated. But these companies are like, we didn't make this release, and it's going to be out, but it's going to be older specs. And if we update it, it's going to be another year out, and then those specs will be outdated, and they end up falling into almost a year one trap. They fix it all in year two, but it hurts that initial product so much.
Yeah, and the thing is, speaking as somebody I've got a drawer full of Android Wear watches that I keep buying just to make sure that I have one in the library that can test like modern stuff on, but none of it has made like the daily driver on my wrist sort of thing. I mean, the closest that I've come is just a regular Fitbit Charge, because I mean, the battery life is great. It does the basics of what I want it to do, and it's actually being supported, and there's no like cruft or stupidage on top of it, and it's affordable. I'm not spending $250 on something that is going to be probably wiped away when the Etch-a-Sketch for Wear OS gets shaken once again. Really, but Google's biggest problem, especially compared to Apple, is just they don't know how to say, look, at some point you got to make a decision and then keep moving forward. You can't just simply like go back to the start line and start all over again, which is their go-to for a whole bunch of different projects they do, including Wear OS.
There's this weird thing too where it's kind of noble, but they seem to feel like they don't deserve to have integration because they also license out the stuff, and it's be unfair to OEMs. But they bend over backwards to integrate with the OEMs. They have whole teams of people working to help OEMs, and like for a long time they wouldn't let the Pixel phone team really work with the Android team because it was unfair. But meanwhile, the Android team was working with all the other OEMs, so it was unfair to Pixel. And now it feels like they're not letting them work with Fitbit to the extent that I wanted Google to do with Fitbit, because they bought them now, and they're like, but we can't really integrate fully because it wouldn't really be. No, please do that.
I know, but I think that's Google's problem is they're just constantly concerned about antitrust. It's a constant problem, and every time they start to blend those together, they get themselves in trouble. Like that's the challenge for them.
I think you're right. That's part of the challenge. I think mostly institutionally, I do think they have a problem of getting all their ducks in a row. I wish I could say that, oh no, they're being very, very cautious, but no, time and time again, if you're lucky, the project that the ambitious project that got canceled will result in some basic technologies that will be rolled into the thing that replaces it. But that doesn't change the fact that suddenly you suddenly have to do Google Wallet when 2 years ago they're telling you about Google Pay, and you're now doing Google Duo when they used to say, oh no, Google Chat. It's kind of embarrassing for a company that's
thing again.
Yeah.
The institutional fear of failure is not existent.
Right.
I was impressed though that the Pixel 7 looks like it's going to actually build on the Pixel 6, because for so many years the new Pixel felt like an utter repudiation of the one that came before. It's like, no, you were an idiot for buying that one. This time we're going to do it right. But like for the first time, the Pixel 7 looks like a linear successor to the Pixel 6, and there's just so much advantage to updating something year over year. So much learned wisdom and platform like advancement to it.
I wasn't surprised. I'll end this because I know that we're talking about Google stuff instead of Apple stuff. But I mean, it takes about 2 or 3 years to design and ship a brand new phone from the ground up. Given how upset they were internally about how the Pixel 4 was developed, I kind of thought that the 5 would be sort of a stopgap, and the 6 would be whatever form it took. Would be the first one where they said, no, we're going to build a new phone from the ground up with 2020, 2021, 2022 sensibilities, and we're going to make it stick. We're going to have an actual strategy. And it's a damn good phone. It's still my daily driver, and I don't regret one tiny bit buying it instead of an iPhone last year.
I bought both.
We all know the Icon Factory. They've been around in the Apple space since 1996.
Yeah,
a great company. One of the 3 founders, passed away this week at the age of 54 after a 2-year battle with cancer. Corey B. Mary, and memorialized here at the Icon Factory's website. So a longtime member of the Apple and Mac community, and a great company.
They changed the Mac and the Windows world.
Yeah, they did. I didn't realize this. Over 100 icons for Windows XP. Yeah. They did the icons for Paramount's Star Trek film.
Yeah. That really is such an art too. Yeah. I mean, their influence is deep and wide, and they really inspired a lot of people to rethink UI, to rethink the communicative effect of icons. They really just took the ball that Susan Kare created and just ran with it.
And they also created, I think, many think the best Twitter app of all time, Twitterific.
Yeah. Craig thought of it in the shower.
Did he really? Wow.
That's what he says.
Wow. At least you knew their apps would have good icons, that's for sure.
Linnea is great. Xscope is great. So many of their stuff is so foundational.
Yeah. Linnea is a new one. This is a sketch tool.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. All right. So there you go. I hate to end on a sad note, but there you have it. We will come back with...
What a legacy.
What a legacy, exactly.
Yeah, their legacy lives on.
Too young. We'll come back with your picks of the week in a moment, gentlemen. I want to talk to any company that uses Slack and wants to be more secure. We've got a great solution for you called Collide, and I bet you're hearing about it because there's a lot of buzz around Collide. Collide came from security practitioners who realized that MDM, mobile device management, was just not working in their businesses. You'd put MDM on a endpoint, whether it's a laptop or a smartphone, and users would get so frustrated that they would throw up their hands and just switch to using their personal devices without telling anyone, which is worse than anything of all, especially if they bring that laptop then back into the office infected. There's got to be a better way. They came up with something I think a lot better. Collide, K-O-L-I-D-E. Instead of locking down a device, gluing the USB ports, Collide gets your users involved. It teaches them, it enables them, it makes them feel good about what they're doing, feel good about security, and when they understand why the security is so important, they do a better job. Collide is, you actually set it up. If the onboarding process is a Collide process, their first Slack message will say, hello, I'm Collide. Let's get you started by installing the endpoint agent. It'll explain what Collide does, And from there, Collide will regularly send employees Slack recommendations when their device is in an insecure state. It can be simple things like the screen lock not set up properly. And it's look at the messages on the website because they're really great. They make you feel like you're a partner in security, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want an adversary inside the company. You got enough adversaries outside the company. It also will do some pretty sophisticated things. For instance, asking people to secure those two-factor backup codes sitting in their downloads folders, plain text. It's talking directly to employees, educating them about company policies and how to keep their device secure using real examples, not theoretical scenarios. It's I think, brilliant, and I think you will too. Cross-platform endpoint management for teams that use Slack, Linux, Mac, Windows, doesn't matter. It puts the end user first. And, I know, sometimes you go, I don't want my end users to have control. But if you get them to be on your team and securing it with you, they do a much better job. This is endpoint management that puts the user first. Really a brilliant idea. Visit Collide, KOLIDE.com/MacBreak to learn more. You can get a 14-day trial. Put it on your system. Get the messages for yourself. I think you'll really see how different Collide is from any other kind of security system. Free 14-day trial. No credit card required. KOLIDE.com/MacBreak. You'll also get a goodie bag of Collide swag after signing up for the trial. I forgot to do that. I got to get the stickers. It's a way of saying thank you. Collide, KOLIDE.com/MacBreak. I love this idea. I really do. Collide. We thank them for their support. Renee Ritchie, your pick of the week, my friend.
So my pick of the week, I'm going to preface this by saying that Reddit has always been at war with mobile browsers. They just make it so miserable. If you see a link to reddit.com and you tap on it, it's going to demand that you download their app. Yep. Then you try to go to the website, and then it doesn't let you do things, and you ask for the desktop version of the site, and it makes the text 8 feet wide, so you can't get even like one word on a single line. You try to do anything, you try to comment, you scroll, you click through to something, it says, no, you need the mobile app to see this. You got it might as well not even be a website. It is like the anti-web, the real dark web, the evil web, something. It is terrible. But there's an app called Apollo, which makes it a genuinely joyful experience.
I live on Apollo. It
is so good. The designer,
love it.
Me too.
Love it.
Yeah, Christian, the designer, is so good. Canadian, but other than that, he's fantastic. He puts so much care and consideration into it, and he's just released Apollo 1.13, which sounds very incremental, but nothing with Apollo or with Christian is incremental. So it's got like a completely new design for notifications. It's got a watch function for subreddit so that you can tell it what sort of things you're looking for, and it'll surface those to you. So you don't have time to go through everything. You can just sort of highlight the things that matter to you the most, and they'll find them for you. It's got trending subreddit posts, remind me, so if you want to go back and see something, completely rebuilt notifications, like I said, and of course, because of Apollo, it's got a whole new set of icons. But I love it so much because it makes me not hate Reddit on mobile again. Forever, always.
I live in Apollo on my iPad mini. It's nirvana. It's heaven. It's the only way.
Yes.
I just love it. And
it's non-toxic. And it's flabbergasting that Reddit would want a toxic experience on mobile, because that's where a lot of people, because like mobile's great because you have a few seconds, you want to check a subreddit, you want to check a thread, you want to do something, and it's so frustrating. And then I become like obstructionist, where I don't want to download their app because they try to force it on me. So I'm just not going to do it. So Apollo is like an oasis.
Apollo is free. There is an Apollo Pro one-time option of $5. Then Apollo,
I did it. It was so easy money to spend.
I did that too. And then the Apollo Ultra, which is $1 a month, which is an incredible deal, or $10 a year. And I think it's worth supporting Christian's work because it is easily. I've tried them all. It's easily the best Reddit experience out there. And if you live on Reddit, you can tell when
a developer really cares.
Yeah.
And he really does.
And you know what's interesting is how much his users love him. I mean, it's like,
we have deservedly so.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. This is one of those apps where people just go, yes. It's really good. Apollo.
It's like that
app.
Steve Jobs line, like a glass of ice water in hell. He does give me a glass of Reddit ice water in the hell of their mobile experience.
Yeah, and Reddit is my favorite social system outside of our own twit.community forums and twit.social Mastodon. Apollos are fantastic. And, of course, our Discord for our club members. Andy Anako, pick of the week.
Yeah, a tip and a pick that are actually very much related to what Renee was talking about, that I love my iPad Pro. It's one of my primary devices. The only thing that's really, really annoying is when the simplest thing, I want to do something in the web browser, but something on that site like Reddit says, oh, wait a minute, I have an app. Why don't you install my app? I won't let you. You need to sign in and validate that you're above 18. Oh, well, can't do that in the web. You have to do that in the app. And so many sites just don't work well that way. And that's the one stumbling block. And so the weirdest thing is that, so I do have Safari and Chrome installed, and a couple other browsers installed. I primarily use Safari and Chrome. The weird thing is, though, that I use Safari every time I want to use Google Docs on my iPad, because if I do it on Chrome, Google is smart enough to say, oh, no, you don't want to use it. You don't want to use Google Docs in the browser. You want to use it here's a promo page where you can download the app, and the app isn't nearly as good as the web version of it. And that's what I want. So Safari makes it very, very easy to surface just through the default settings panel in the settings app. Just say, give me the desktop version of everything that you fetch for me, and suddenly every one of these problems is immediately solved. You no longer get the classic Reddit. You don't get the super wide stretched version. I don't know why so many apps, so many sites give me like the super stretched version, because of course it's an iPad. It's only been out for 10 years. It must be a phone. Let's give me the phone layout. With Chrome, the only way around it is to go to the incredibly intuitive interface that they have for user settings, which is to enter the URL chrome://flags, and then they will give you a list inside the browser of settings, and halfway during the middle of it is one where you can flick it to fetch desktop settings, desktop web pages by default, and then when you restart, it works. But the other, so that's tip. The actual pick is this really cool Safari plugin that attacks another piece of mobile pain when you're using an iPad, which is Google AMP pages. Those are 7 years ago, Google had this really great idea that, mobile data is really, really slow and it's really, really expensive. Let's create this new standard so that if someone is connecting to your website via a mobile device, you can actually create through code that we've developed and then put into the open source a sort of slimmed down version of the page that will load really, really fast. Unfortunately, this is 2022, and I've got a really good fast connection. I've got a really good fast iPad, and I don't want that stripped down version of the page, and I don't want the extra tracking, because the URLs will go through Google to resolve that page. So there's a really good plugin for Safari on iOS called Amplosion, AMPLOSION. Costs $2. You install this plugin, and suddenly, anytime that you do a Google search and unbeknownst to you, you've tapped on a link to what turns out to be an AMP page, it will automatically fetch the actual HTTP standard HTML page instead.
Nice.
Simple, effective, $2.
Implosion.
Yeah.
Mr. Alex Lindsay, your pick of the week.
This is one of my best picks in a long time. Just letting you people know.
Oh my God.
Here's the worst part.
This is going to cost you.
No, it's not that expensive even. It's not even that very expensive. It's a week ago, I didn't even know what this app was. So it was, and I kind of understood it when we scheduled them to come in this morning I moved my other pick to next week because this was amazing. Like we had, Gabe Cohen come in from Audio Design Desk. And what this does, it's insane. It connects to Final Cut. It also it connects the best to Final Cut. It also connects to Premiere and Pro Tools and all these other things. And what it does is it's for when you're doing audio design. So you have sound effects, you have music, you have, different beats that you want to put in. And it basically supercharges your ability to add all those effects really fast. So it has 50,000 effects or whatever, and music clips and so on and so forth. And they're starting to tie into, external services as well. And so what happens is that it builds its own little interface, and you're watching and you say, oh, I'm looking for a swoosh, or I'm looking for footsteps, or I'm looking for this. and it just puts it in there, and you can literally tie it to a keyboard so that you can play it, while you're watching. So you could have like a bunch of sword things and be hitting if you remember the keys, you could be sitting there like doing the demo this morning. He was doing a sword fight from Crouching Tiger, and they're like, and he's adding all of it in real time, and then you have these effects, and you can swap through those effects really fast. Like, oh, that's not really the one I'm looking for. Give me another one. Give me another one. Give me another one. And it'll keep on going through that. And what it does is it not only puts those audio in. If you have your marker or your cursor where you want that effect to go in, it knows what part of that effect. It has metadata in it. That's where it should hit on the edit point, and this is because it's really designed by someone who's actually done this, it's like, this is how you save time. It literally is one of the most amazing extensions for Final Cut I've ever seen in my entire life, and it just, the amount of time, any of us that have done this have had to add music, had to add, sound effects and so on and so forth, know that you never finish. You just run out of time. And this literally makes it 100 times faster. So all of us were, literally almost all of us in the panel this morning were completely just having trouble remembering what we were going to do the rest of the show. I screwed up my clothes. Like, I've never had this problem. Like, so someone's having this is a really great product. And, we've had great other folks on, but we were literally having trouble asking the questions, because we were thinking about all the things we were going to do. Just a stunning. And I was like, how have they been around for 2 years? And I didn't know that because we'd ask for these very obscure, weird things like, well, can it do this? And they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. You can just add all these things to it. And I think at some point I was like, how long have you guys been around? Because how do I not know about this? And so anyway, so that's why I'm recommending it. And you should, if you want to see more about what it did, because I think that their website is a little, I couldn't really get what it did looking at their website. But you should watch the second hour from today, Tuesday's office hours, because you'll be entertained. Like, it's a great demo of a very cool extension and app. And so
looks like a Foley artist's dream come true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And the stuff that they hint to where they're going, where, it's really providing this access for, people to get into a marketplace and everything else. It's really stunning and really amazing. I would highly recommend checking out that website. And it's $30. I think you can get it perpetual. I don't know what the perpetual was. The most expensive version of this that has absolutely everything, I think, is like $30 a month. And it goes, down from there. And it's really cool. So it's one of the coolest things I've seen in quite a while on the Mac.
Neat. Really neat.
I want lightsaber sounds now.
Yeah.
They have them. They have the lightsaber sounds. He had all these. Here's the thing: is he had all the Crouching Tiger one. They had all these sword, and then he goes. And then of course we can just select all these and just change them to lightsabers, and boom, it was lightsabers. I was just like, all of us were taking it. Yeah, it's cool.
I just sent a link to Salt Hank, because I think he could probably use this in his in his videos. Yeah.
I watch that fight like at least once a month. There is no movement without stillness. And he's just like whittling away at her with the sword as he's moving forward. It's so good.
Yeah.
ADD.app. It's
what a great URL.
Yeah. Very easy URL. ADD.app for audio design desk. And if you want to watch this conversation, go to officehours.global. That's where Alex Lindsay lives. I mean, really, quite literally, day in, day out. All sorts of subjects, mostly about production, but other things too, including cooking. And it's a Zoom meeting that is always open, but the mornings are when you have your special events and so forth. And it's open to all. Officehours.global if you want to know more. And if you want to hire Alex, absolutely, you must go to 090.media, where he is waiting for your check. Doesn't matter what it's for. Just write it now. Give him a blank check. I'm telling you, it's worth it.
So suffice to say that next week we will have about every third minute is going to be unnecessary sound effects that we're just putting through our microphones because we're playing this and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And Inaka, when are you going to be on GBH in Boston with your APP design desk ready to go?
I am off again this week because we're on tape because there was unfortunately a positive COVID diagnosis from one of the hosts, and so they're going on tape for the rest of the week. But I'll be on next week at my usual slot, but actually one day earlier, Thursday at 12:50 p.m. As usual, go to wgbhnews.org, listen to it live or later, or listen to anything I've done there for the past 3 years.
Nice. Always a pleasure, Andy.
Indeed.
And Renee Ritchie is at youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. What are you working on these days?
I'm working on a video about WWDC that contains no leaks, no rumors, no speculation, nothing about what could actually be shown at WWDC, but just everything about WWDC. And I'm enjoying Twitter because they're busy memeing the new poster art into a Power Rangers revival because it looks so similar to that classic Mighty Morphin poster.
Hysterical. That's funny. Wow. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
We have some events coming up in the club. If you're a Club Twit member, Stacy's book club is June 16th. It's going to be Termination Shock. I'm telling you now because it's a big book. You're going to want to start right now. Neil Stephenson's latest, 9 a.m. Pacific, June 16th. And certain Alex Lindsay will be our guest in July for an AMA. Aunt Pruitt will interview Alex, give you a chance to ask your questions. So if you've always wanted to ask Alex some personal questions, that's the place to go. Club Twit is kind of our special place for people who want to support what we do here. $7 a month gets you all of our shows ad-free. No ads, no tracking. You also get access to the Twit Plus feed, which is all sorts of stuff that doesn't make it to the podcasts, and our fabulous Discord, which is a conversation of all kinds of stuff. It's not just the shows. It's everything geeks are interested in, from travel to anime to data science to cooking. It's a really fun place to hang. It's my favorite social network. Highly encourage a visit to twit.tv/clubtwit. We also have corporate memberships, $7 a month. I think it's worth it. Thanks to all of you for being here. We do Macbreak Weekly Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. You can watch or listen live at live.twit.tv. The chat room is irc.twit.tv. Or, of course, if you're in the Club Twit Discord is very active during live hours. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at twit.tv/mbw. There's a dedicated YouTube channel. You can watch the videos there. You can, I don't know what's going on. It's a little teeny weeny YouTube. You can also subscribe. That's probably the best thing to do. That way you'll get the audio or the video version of the show, your choice, the minute it's available. And if your podcast platform allows for reviews, please leave us a 5-star review. Tell the world about Macbreak Weekly. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Alex. I hope there's more news next week. We'll see. And if not, there'll be good conversation. I can promise you.
We did pretty good.
Yeah, we did all right.
Yeah.
See you next time. Now get back to work because break time is over.
Is that an iPhone in your hand? Wait a second. Is that an Apple Watch on your wrist? And do I see an iPad sitting there on the table? Oh my goodness. You are the perfect person to be watching iOS Today, the show where Rosemary Orchard and I, Micah Sargent, talk all things iOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePod OS. It's all the OSs that Apple has on offer, and we show you how to make the most of those gadgets. Just head to twit.tv/iOS to check it out.